Hi, Steve. Hi, Steve. Hi, everybody. This is Steve Olson with WSO. It's July 14th, and I decided to do a little segment here to start out with Wayne because, quite frankly, I just need to talk to somebody. Hi, Wayne.
How you doing, Steve?
Well, Wayne, all day long, this is actually what you're seeing here is the, that livemeteors.com that we've been talking about constantly for the last 3 days.
Yep.
Well, the returns started really heavy again this morning, and you and I both got some good segments of it, and I'll show some of it at the end. I'll actually plug some into the end of the video today so they can see how wide it got. But it actually got as wide as on either side of that middle red line. It was huge. And we're still getting this regular return, Wayne, and I think people are concerned about it, want to know more about it.
Well, as I do and as you do as well. So I know you and I have talked. We have looked at this and said what it is. So obviously we went to the comment section on this website. By the way, subscribers, you crashed the website yesterday.
We forgot to tell you, probably the reason that the site went down was because we overwhelmed the server. That's the real reason why.
I'm sure they had a few choice words for us, but anyway.
No, because the signal was available outside of the website.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this, and I always like to read the comments because if people visit this site, maybe they're more knowledgeable than I am. But as you and I are reading them, I think they're more confused than you and I are.
Yeah, so a lot of these old timers have actually reached out to one of them, and nobody's ever seen this constant return. They get excited if they see a 2-minute return, these guys that watch this thing all the time. So let me go through a couple of the options that it could be. Wayne, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, so the first option is that this is something called the sporadic E effect.
And define that specifically so we're all on the same page.
Right.
What is sporadic E?
So depending on there are ionospheric clouds or matter that sometimes come into our atmosphere. Those ionic clouds in the ionosphere or matter, depending on the frequency with what you're using to bounce off the atmosphere. In this case, we're using they're listening on the 55.24, but there's stations all over the world that listen to other stations too. Same thing. All right. So what sporadic E is basically if there's a dense cloud of ionic material up there, it will bounce off of for several minutes, hours, or what they say now, even days.
So taking that definition, an ionic cloud is basically ionized particles, right?
That's correct. And that would be typical, my guess would be if I was talking to Ben over at Special Observers, he might say that ionic material or charged positive particles are an effect of sunspots, and that probably would be an effect of sunspots. Wayne would be one of my guesses on that.
Okay, so
why don't we see this during heavy activity of the sun?
Okay.
No. And then number two, why are we seeing it now when the sun is basically silent?
Correct. And so when we discussed this, Steve, I went over, looked at, SOHO, and so looking at what we can get on density, bi-angle, etc., I tried to make a correlation and say, all right, earlier this morning we were in a yellow level KP4 minor geomagnetic storm. But now if I'm correct, this is also going by the solar wind, right? So it's being pushed by the sun, correct?
What's being pushed by the sun? This instrument?
Yes.
No.
No, I meant the ionization.
Oh, right. That again, if we had a lot of charged particles, you know how we look at the proton flux on the sun?
Right. Yep.
Those charged particles could create an ionic, charged ions in the atmosphere, right?
Okay. So I just went back the last couple of days, and here's the problem. We have been at basically a very minimum low level of any type of solar wind. Look back at the chart. So I can't make the correlation between that event and what we're seeing here, Steve.
Now, a couple other things just to kind of refresh our memory, and let's just have a conversation because a lot of people have seen this. This was the, and by the way, all these events are correlating, not necessarily related, but they're happening at the same time, okay? So we had this huge return. Then we had this really dramatic display, and it was sent to BP Earthwatch. He put it up, but that same guy sent it to me and about 5 other people, okay? This clip from the ISS yesterday where it basically illuminated the orb, which that's our theory anyway, that it's illuminating the orb. Well, what was interesting about this, I got another picture of this from May and another one from April. And in both those cases, this object or this illumination was much, much smaller. Let's see if I can find one real quick here.
So it's gotten bigger as time has progressed.
This is the one from May.
Yes, yes, yes.
See that?
Yep.
How much smaller it is than the one that BP got.
Yep.
And again, there's other objects around it as well. There's that green thing and everything. So again, just another clue.
Okay, so it's getting bigger dramatically, I would say.
This isn't real size. I just blew it up for the thumbnail, but that's what it looked like in its brightest section in the middle.
Yep.
Then the next thing that we saw that was in the same timing was this green beam down in the South Pole from the Australian station. It's happening still, by the way. So every time that it turns night, we see this green rope beam.
All right, so is that plasma that we're seeing? I saw one of the comments, someone said it looks like it was coming from the ground, but it's hard to get the perspective. You know, I'm thinking more of a plasma discharge, but who knows? I mean...
Well, and let me show you something that might support the plasma discharge theory, because we're more or less at the bottom of the Earth here, right?
Correct.
So here's Pine Mountain, and this is at nighttime, and just stay with me for a second, okay? Watch this film. Do you see how it looks like the moon's coming out from under, in this picture, a big red object?
Yeah, yeah, and you can definitely see the red object.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's take another look. So it just comes out from underneath that. It seems to be coming out from underneath an object, and this would be an explanation why we're seeing this strange moonrise for so long, is that it almost seems to be coming out from behind an iron oxide cloud. But let's say that the object is sitting below the Earth right now, and it's enough to see the iron oxide cloud. I would expect that there would be plasma discharges between the Earth and any object that close. That's one theory.
And listen, I think it's a sound theory. I've read the theory, and I think that if anyone is not knowledgeable on it, the Thunderbolts Project is a great place to learn about it. Steve, I think that this is what I would expect to see. You know, when I lived in Austin, Texas, I had the opportunity to see 3 space shuttles come over, and one came over right in the late afternoon, and it's quite spectacular when you see that actually coming in, and the plasma discharge that is behind the space shuttle is reminiscent of what I'm seeing down here in the South Pole, except it doesn't have the spiral to it.
Yeah, that's the thing that puzzles me about this, and this is what we saw also the last time we saw this. I think it was back in March we were seeing it, right? Yeah. That rope. That's weird. And by the way, remember, this is the whole sky. So, like, if you were seeing, like, Orion, the constellation on it, it would be very small on this picture, for example, right? So this thing is humongous, this rope. And then the other interesting thing is if you look at the ground at the same time, they have a ground cam there, too. Everything is green. Everything is bright green.
So let's just look at this. So if we looked at a static bolt of electricity, right? We know that it has many different configurations that would shoot off of it.
Yep.
All right. Plasma has the same principles. Is that potentially what we're actually seeing is what a plasma discharge would look like in the atmosphere?
Yeah, let me show you a moving image of it real quick. I'll bring it up. So this is from my film yesterday. And I'm moving forward in time, okay?
Oh.
Here, I can actually stretch this thing out a little bit. Let's do that so we can look at it a little slower. Are you with me?
I'm with you. I'm right on top of it. Look at the, all right. It looks to me like it's actually igniting, exciting the protons, whatever, that it ever gets very bright, Steve, very bright.
Yeah, it illuminates the sky like almost like the sun, like in a situation, like when you get it to this illumination level,
Mm-hmm.
it's just super bright, man. That's as bright as the sunshine.
Okay, I have seen right near the orb itself, as you go forward, there is an inconsistency in the discharge. What I think we're seeing is the discharge from this object going to the ground, or potentially going over the horizon, one of the two.
Right. I was thinking the horizon might be an option. Let's say that there's some kind of a device that they've been trying to use to slowly push the planet or push an object away from the Earth.
Okay.
It could potentially be that type of a technology or device.
So, Steve, as we're talking, what else would excite the ionosphere besides the sun?
Proximity to another electrically charged object.
Bingo.
And
it's an electric universe.
Yeah, and remember, I'll go back and do some comparisons later, but it was way more in the middle of the screen in the wintertime too.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, this is just amazing stuff. I cannot tell you.
Look at that. Look at that. You see that? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, see it?
Yep.
And then boom, like
boom.
The sun, you know?
It has the footprint of a lightning bolt, but obviously we're dealing with, different matter here. Look at that.
Yeah, so now this would probably be daytime now, right?
Yeah.
But again, I'm in the South Pole. There shouldn't be any daytime, bro.
I was going to say, they're coming into their should be right in the middle of winter. Look at that. That, to me, you'd almost think it was a comet.
Yeah, but it's just a straight rope, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't move.
See, I think that's going from the horizon, Steve.
I think it's going over the horizon too, man.
Look at the.
I don't think that's going to the ground.
So we're assuming
our artificial sun, Wayne.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that what we're seeing off to the right? I mean, the left.
See how the sun is there now? That is as we see in the east at a very early time in the day, right?
Yeah. Right.
And it does seem to.
So would the sun be up at midnight, Steve?
It was UTC, so UTC is plus would be +6 on here, so that's actually nighttime.
That's what I'm saying.
No, early morning. You're right. It would be 3 in the morning, 3:40 in the morning, Central Time.
They're in the Antarctic. I get where the sun is going, but it's still dark down there.
It is. We're not supposed to see a sun down there right now, you guys.
No. Well, that's just really peculiar.
That is just trippy. What else do you say about something like that? I mean,
well, I'm sure we'll have some opinions, but I'm certainly eager to see what someone else may come up with.
Now, before I get off this, I saved that loop from Grumpy Moose this morning that we were looking at.
Yes.
Remember this?
I do.
And so what this is, guys, this is Grumpy Moose from this morning. Actually, it was really early, and one of the subscribers sent this to me on a kind of a urgent basis. And basically, what we're seeing is something emerging from the sky down.
Again, we have a mystery on our hands. So is what we're seeing on livemeteors.com, others, the result of what we're seeing here?
Right, and this goes to that theory I was talking about, that if we had matter coming in from this system, let's say that our theory is correct and it's iron oxide, that would definitely produce a return.
Yeah, yep.
We wouldn't be able to propagate a wave through it, but we get bounced back off of it.
There is such a distinction, particularly when you have the laid out picture down there. You can just see it right over the T of east. Clearly something obfuscating the light in the clouds.
Pretty
Steve,
cool.
I think that if we continue to see this signal, just continue to, it cannot be sporadic either. There has to be another explanation, my friend.
Yeah, I'm not, you know what? I cannot say it's not sporadic. I can't say it because I'm not smart enough. But here's the thing. I have not seen any example of a sporadic E signature anywhere either, so I can't have nothing to compare it with. So could it be sporadic E? Yes. Is it likely? No.
Well, and that's what you and I were talking earlier about. If we could see a baseline, I mean, just show us what a typical sporadic E signature would look like, fine. Then we have something to compare it to. But, you know, to slam us on it because, you know, you're saying that it's not, well, tell us what it is.
This is interesting because, normally when we see one of these flashes, they'll just go right down, and they're like usually a lens flare or refraction. This one
Yeah.
down a little bit because it just dove right down, man. I just wanted to show you that one.
Thank you, Steve.
Are you having fun yet?
Yeah. You know, my wife doesn't talk to me anymore at night.
Because of me?
It's like,
probably,
okay.
Before I let you go, I'm going to show you a couple other good ones that we got.
Oh, look at that.
More and more of these red clouds coming through, just like what we saw in Grumpy Moose. Now this one really got me, man. I know it's really a bad image.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Where is that?
Manila.
Really? Wow. Well, you know, Steve, I've asked, you know, why we're getting off the ISS on the one feed, the rose-colored sunrises and well, actually, I don't know if they're sunsets or sunrises anymore. But look at all this. Just look at that.
Yeah, so this one is interesting because it actually showed a tail on this one, and of course the lady that took this one, I think this one from one of the Alaska cams.
Yeah.
Look, I am not the one producing these photographs, Wayne. I am receiving them from people. Everybody that's been telling me that the chemtrails aren't out, you know, the people in England and Northeast would still beg to differ because that's what's happening there.
So, you know, they don't have them here in Colorado because we don't have to because of all the forest fires. The smoke is obfuscating our sky. And by the way, Steve, the saying goes, they kill the messenger. You know that.
Oh, I know. I'm ready to die.
No, I was talking superlatively. Well, I think
the only reason I wanted to dig this Sumerian tablet out, you know the Sumerian tablets, right?
I do. I think that's in Yale, I believe, is it not?
Yep, and look at this.
Yeah.
Remember that green cross we kept seeing all the time?
Yes, we did.
Well, there's a cross in the sky. You know what I mean?
You know, all the prophecies, whether you're dealing with the book of Revelations, you're dealing with the Hopi, you're dealing with the Samaritans, all of these are saying someone's coming back. And if, as a gentleman told me last night, he said, well, if this is what it looks like when the Lord's return, he says, we're in for quite a show. Look at that.
Now, the only reason I wanted to show you this one was because of this is obviously manipulated from a standpoint of exposure, right? So saturation, probably played around with a little bit. But look at the orb that shows up, that clear orb that shows up with this treatment.
All right, so let's stop here a second, Steve, because I think that this begins to put it into perspective. If, in fact, this system is coming in, and I really don't care what people think.
I really don't either.
So I always like to go by the Colburn. The Destroyer section, I think, is probably one of the best pieces of literature that describe this passing. So at some point in time, it's going to begin to encompass the whole horizon. That's all I'm saying.
Right, that's the story. It's going to encompass the whole horizon. It's going to envelop our whole view of the sky. That is the story of the Sumerians. And one of the things that their tablets show the system in the sky with the Anunnaki, right?
Yep.
So to me, it's like they both come together, right? So whenever they're close, I don't know if it's technology limitation or what it is, but they seem to jump off. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Which really reminds me of the Nephilim, just so you know.
Well, there is so much of our past that we as a species have either lost or purposely been removed from our memory. But Steve, there's so much going on. As you said the other day, the evidence is coming in to where it's overwhelming you. I see what the staff is doing. It's just
yeah, did you hear Wayne just now? We actually have a staff at WSO now. 5 people have sold out to the ministry 100%. They're working for nothing.
So I believe in the principle of sowing and reaping. So I believe that what we're doing here is a service. And Steve, you know, regardless of what the critics may say, we have seen, I've learned from just what's been sent in from WSO, you just walk away, you just shake your head.
Okay, remember a couple weeks ago we got those neat images and everybody was saying it was because this light was causing this refraction?
Yes.
Well, if you go on this one from 940 to 950, the object actually moves from here to here. So you can see it goes from here to the other side of the building in this frame. We also have that weird ring around it again like we saw before.
Yes.
The funny thing about this particular image is as soon as I got it, I went to look myself. They had already blocked out the orb going through the sky. And they did it with they made it look like it was the clouds in the background. Go look for yourself, guys. It's the Nibiru station. Just go down to the time lapse. You'll see that you can't see it anymore.
You know, and you and I have seen other pictures like that. I think the one that you got last week was just absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, and remember how it had 3 dots on it? 3
yes,
dots on it?
Yes, sir. Do you have that, by the way?
I'll go back and grab it. But while we're doing that, I want to show you those photos that we had of the Core 2, just to set a... Remember, okay, that, right?
Well, as Patton would say, I think that's a damn invasion.
I know, right? So these are 2 frames taken at the same relative time from 2 different cameras. You're telling me that both cameras are malfunctioning?
Well, they have to be, because otherwise, how do you explain that? Oh, that was just simply a software glitch.
Could that be a fleet of spacecraft?
Well, they look like they're flying to me 3 by 3.
Either that or it's one that's being I don't know. Anyway, well, it would be hard for me to pick up that Nibiru, but I'll try to come back and paste it in.
Sure, that'd be fine.
But it had 3 dots behind it. That's why I thought this was interesting.
Yeah, and it keeps on with the 3s everywhere.
Yes, it's 3. It's 3. This little string of 3 dots we've seen. Remember when we were looking at Skycam images back in February, and we saw 3 dots appearing on the horizon like this?
All the time. All the time.
I wonder, right?
Yeah, and you know, you took a lot of flack from a lot of the comments that, you know, people were not buying it. But, you know, what did they say? If it happens once, it's a mistake. Happens twice, it becomes a pattern. 3 times, you have yourself a habit.
But all kidding aside, guys, you cannot, when you look at these 2 pictures, okay, and I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're from NASA. You cannot convince me that this isn't something that both these cameras picked up. If it was one or the other and not the other one, I would say, okay, it could be a camera glitch. But it's on frickin' both. This is what corroboration is, guys.
It's amazing. Steve, and this is the thing, you know, last week when we saw the same thing over in Core 1 with the objects that were clearly coming and going. You say what you want. There's a lot of happening up there around the sun, my friend. A lot.
And again, do we have the answers? No, I really don't think we do.
No.
What I do know is that we have a lot of observations, and the picture is starting to come clearer and clearer and clearer, okay? And I'll be showing a video later tonight and showing some just more stunning stuff from the FAA webcams. I'm almost done with the video, Wayne.
Great, great, Steve. I look forward to it.
It's enough to you just shake your head because you can tell it's an object up there.
You know, I feel that we are like the Frenchmen at the Bastille. We know that behind the walls they have the secrets. The best we're doing right now is that we're trying to peek up over the wall and see what's going on. And when they come against us and, you know, and ridicule us and what have, we've seen that. Listen, like you just said, we don't know. We're asking. And I think that that is the beginning of understanding and knowledge, is to ask, tell me, explain to me.
Well, and the other thing I want people to know is how much that I love them, man, because I'm not doing this because I really never wanted fame or anything like that in my life, man. I really didn't want any of this. But I do have a heart for people, man. I really do. And when I see something that could hurt people and you know, it could be a threat to people, I just felt like it was my job to put it out there. And then it's turned into this huge organization already that is going to attempt. We're going to attempt to try to supply as many groups as we can with food, water, communications, training, all those kinds of things. I just can't believe it's happening.
Well, Steve, it's because it's what the people are looking for. Everywhere I go, I mention about what WSO does, and I had a 26-year-old woman say to me today, she said, you know, she says, it really is about family, isn't it? And I said, yeah, it's the human family. And so she's going to become a new subscriber, but that's the message, Steve. And you are a great man. Listen, that's one of the things why I support you. You are a tremendous humanitarian, and, you know.
Hey, do you ever notice how they call Rockefeller a philanthropist now? I'm a philanthropist with no money.
Well, but I do believe in the principle of sowing and reaping, my friend, and you are sowing a tremendously good crop, and that's one of the things that you and I've taught. There's a balance in the universe, and I do believe that if you sow the positive, you sow the good. Hey, it's not to say that sometimes you're going to get a crap sandwich. We all do. But overall, I think we do okay, and that's just a philosophy I live by, and it works. And Steve, you are that type of a man that I see that has the integrity, and I appreciate it.
Oh, man. Thanks, Wayne. And you too. And all the people that are helping me right now, guys, this is not a one-man show anymore. Wayne helps me. There's a new guy named James Madden. He's been working with me for a month. And Phoebe, his assistant and helper and director. And then we have Mandy Thompson now. We actually have a commercial director that's going to try to help us with sponsorships and things like that. So we're growing. We're trying to put it together. We definitely appreciate everybody's help that you guys have been giving us. Without you, we would not be here. And I'll start crying here in a minute, so I'm going to shut up.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, Steve. Let me just close it out with this. Folks, there's going to be a lot of strange stuff we're going to be seeing, reading, and hearing. And one of the things that I hope that we can help communicate here is that this is a place of sanctuary, safety. We all get rattled once in a while, but we want to stop the fear porn and the fear mongering. And let's kind of look at this as a community. We have intelligent minds, all of us do. Let's come together. We can think this thing out if they won't tell us what it is. So, Steve, that's how I look at it.
Amen, brother. All right. Good night, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Good night, Steve.